Hi, I'm Joe Farace. Welcome to Joe's Movie Club. And we're here outside the area right before you enter into what I like to call our movie room, and what my wife likes to call the home theater room. It'll be a home theater one of these days, and it's certainly better than what it started out to be. But we're also here for an auspicious occasion. I got a copy of the 4K version of Casablanca, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my thoughts about it with you right now. I like to think of Casablanca as the first part of a trifecta of classic Humphrey Bogart films. The second is the Maltese Falcon, which Wonders will be releasing later this month, and I will have a review up. I've already pre-ordered the movie. Looking forward to that. The third film is The Big Sleep, which has a whole lot of interesting quirks and features about its history. In it, Bogart plays Philip Marlowe. He's Sam Spade in The Maltese Falcon. It comes as close as doing the classic private eye thing as any group of films ever made. I hope that Wonders will give us The Big Sleep in both its versions, the originally as shot film and the second film, which is the theatrical release, which had been changed radically by expanding the role that Lauren Bacall has because of their chemistry and To Have and To Have Not. So anyway, those are the three films, but really we're here to talk about Casablanca. In the first part, I'll talk about the movie. The second part, I'll talk about the disc and about the 4K version. In previous times, we probably wouldn't even have to talk about the story behind Casablanca because it's a film that maybe everybody had seen. But I think nowadays a lot of people don't get to see older classic black and white films like Casablanca. Like, I could be wrong, but that's my take on it. But Casablanca is basically a wartime thriller that's wrapped around a love story, which is really the heart of the film. The film is set early in World War II when the Nazis had occupied France, but here in Casablanca, which is part of French Morocco, it was considered to be unoccupied France, and all kinds of people were involved, and that's reflected in the way the film is populated. And it's populated with things that you don't see in modern films, and that is little bits of business between what would normally be background actors that become a part of the story and make the picture bigger than it really would otherwise be. It's a very simple story. It's like boy meets girl, boy loves girl, girl leaves boy, girl shows up back, asks Sam to play it, not play it again, and they don't rekindle their love story, and the hero, Rick, goes on to make self-sacrifice for true love. And geez, what more do you want in the movie? This is a great film. This is what I call, in my little postscript at the end of this, a movie. It's full of great actors. There's a pickpocket who shows up a couple times stealing people's wallets. There's little bits like the Russian bartender, I think the manager of the financial manager of Rick's Cafe. I mean, Rick's Cafe American, I think it is. Anyway, these, even Peter Lorre, who has a fairly big role in the Maltese Falcon, shows up as a thief who steals what turns out to be the MacGuffin, which are the letters of transit that enable two people to get the heck out of Casablanca to neutral Portugal, where they can maybe make it to America or someplace safe. That's kind of the story. I mean, the acting couldn't be better. Bogart is the tragic, tough guy with a heart of gold. Ingrid Bergman is extremely beautiful and vulnerable as Ilsa, who loves both Bogart and her husband, portrayed by Paul Henreid, who has really kind of small role because he's the self-sacrificing hero of the resistance, and you know, yet all those smaller roles are filled with incredible actors. As I said, Peter Lorre. There's Sidney Greenstreet, who has a small role as a rival cafe owner. Greenstreet is always magnetic when he's on the screen. But the guy who really steals the movie film is always Bogart, Bergman, and Henry. But the truth is, Claude Rains steals every friggin' scene he's in. He's amazing as Renault, the chief of police of Morocco, and he's the guy who says, let's round up the usual suspects. In fact, the movie is full of things that we all use as catchphrases today that all come from Casablanca. Things like, here's looking at you, kid. One of my favorites, by the way. Ilsa never says, play it again, Sam. That's one of those kind of twists. Like Mae West doesn't really say, come up and see me sometime. We'll have to talk about Mae West in an upcoming video because I'm a huge fan of Mae West films. But she does say, play it, Sam. And he does. And that kicks the whole movie into high gear. This is a terrific movie. They won the Best Picture award. They won a couple other awards. I don't know if Claude Rains won an award for Best Supporting Actor. He surely should have. He is absolutely magnetic and charming in every scene. Big kudos to Claude Rains, who had a wonderful career of playing interesting roles. And not always the hero. Sometimes the villain. And his Chief Renault is a bit of a rogue, but very charming rogue. So this is a movie that everybody can enjoy. See it with someone you love because it's a love story. And I remember the first time I saw this film, or the second time, I thought that there was a flashback, kind of like a third of the way in the movie, that goes back to when Bogart meets Ingrid Bergman in Paris, and they fall in love, and it's this whole sequence. It's very sweet and wonderful and touching, and ends tragically, and we come back. I always thought that slowed the movie down. But in watching it again now, maybe as an older guy or as more mature than when I saw it the first couple of times, it doesn't slow the movie down. It informs the movie. And I think that anybody with a sense of romanticism is going to love this film. But what does it look like? Up until this movie, my standard reference for what a high quality transfer of a black and white film was Anatomy of a Murder, which is a terrific movie, and there's a wonderful Blu-ray available from Criterion Collection. And if you are a Jimmy Stewart fan at all, or a fan of really great classic courtroom dramas, everyone in Anatomy of a Murder, it just hits it out of the park. It's also, I think, George C. Scott's first film role. But that had been my standard of excellence until I saw the 4K version of Casablanca. It is hands down the most spectacularly beautiful black and white film that you're going to see. Unless even more wonderful films are coming. And I'm hoping that's true. If this disc is a success, I'm hoping Warner's will release some of their other films. Some of the Cagney black and white gangster films would be great. Now, one of the differences is I have an OLED TV, a fairly good one. It's a Sony, 65 inches, and it looks really, really good. Now, when I first watched Anatomy of a Murder, it was on my old Samsung plasma set. Now, this was the last plasma anybody ever offered in the U.S. market. And I gotta tell you that I would trade my Sony any day to have my old plasma back. But it died a death, and fixing it would cost more than buying a new TV, so we wound up with the OLED. Now, the OLED sometimes can look pretty spectacular. I mean, my standard reference for a modern color film is, of all things, King Kong versus Godzilla, which is pretty spectacular in every way. Now, my standard reference now for black and white classic films in 4K is Casablanca. It is absolutely brilliantly beautiful. From the first frame that comes on the screen is the Warner Brothers logo. and you look at it and you say, wow, what's the movie going to look like? And the movie looks absolutely spectacular. Now, as far as the audio is concerned, it's DTS monaural, and you would expect to be a monaural soundtrack for a film that's 80 years old. But from time to time, there is some rumble, what I would call rumble, because it kind of reminds me of my old hi-fi days, that from turntables that you would hear rumble. There's at least 3 places where it's very far in the background. It doesn't overcome the dialogue. The dialogue is always crisp and in the forefront, easy to hear. And the soundtrack in general sounds good. But there are these 3 places where we get this rumble that's kind of like your next door neighbor in 2 apartments over is playing Stairway to Heaven or something. I can't recommend this movie highly enough. It is just remarkable. Now, coming up after my little short credit sequence is a mini review of The Fabelmans from a different perspective than perhaps I've talked about other films. It's a highly personal view of The Fabelmans. And if you can bear up for another couple of 3 minutes after the little bit of credits that are there, you might get some insight into me as well as the film, at least my take on the film. And as always, this is a part where I really don't like, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm begging you, requesting, soliciting your approval to like and subscribe to the channel. We recently topped 100 people, which is really exciting, 100 subscribers. And it would be really nice if we could ever get to 200, because anytime you have something to interact with this video, it helps the algorithm, which brings this dopey little channel to the attention of more people. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you real soon, and I hope you hang in to catch my take on The Fabelmans. I want to thank you for hanging around to listen to some of my personal thoughts about The Fabelmans. I had a chance to watch The Fabelmans on a Blu-ray, and I have to tell you, I really didn't like the movie very much. Now, I'm in the minority on this because if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, both the critics who raved about it and the audience really liked this movie. But I didn't. And I want to share some thoughts about why I didn't like it. The truth is that The Fabelmans affected me in ways that few films didn't. It seemed very personal to me. Unlike a lot of movies that I watch for entertainment, such as the very movie that was on the front of this review, which is Casablanca. It's a movie. It's no great epic. It's not Lawrence of Arabia, but it's a very fun, entertaining film. The Fabelmans, to me, is not. And once again, it's because it felt too personal. I have a thing about movies that feature something I call human misery. And I'll put a link below and where I talk about that and why the 3 movies that I really didn't like from last year had too much of it in it. But there's lots of human misery in this film. But there's not the reason I didn't like it. I mean, that's part of the reason, but not 100%. All of the happy things that happen in The Fabelmans felt real to me. They felt like my own family. All of the sad things in the film felt personal too, because they felt like things that happened to me in my personal life, not my family's life. But I don't know you well enough to tell you more about that. The truth is, there's an Uncle Benny in my life too. And while the ending of my personal family drama wasn't as sad and disruptive as it was to Steven Spielberg and his sisters, it stuck in my memory, and to tell you the truth, I'd forgotten about it until this movie came along. After watching the film, I came to the conclusion that not everybody deserves to have a movie about their life. And that's what kind of stuck with me at the end of this film. You can disagree with me, and obviously most people do, about the Fabelmans. But these are just some of my thoughts, and I wanted to share them with you today. Thanks.